Don't buy a dumpster fire. That's how I sum it up. Well, I thought we were so blessed. I can just sprinkle that fairy dust, on these other stores. There's no shortcut to success. Like, you have to go through the crap.
Welcome to the Gain Traction Podcast, the official podcast for tire business. I am Mike Edge, your host, and I have the privilege of interviewing the tire dealers, shop owners, counter sales reps, technicians, industry executives, and other thought leaders of our industry. This episode is brought to you by Tread Partners. Tread Partners is the leading digital marketing agency that specializes in digital marketing for multi-location tire and auto repair shops. Tread Partners works with clients that have hundreds of locations down to 5 locations. Get a professional, unbiased opinion and let Tread Partners review what you're doing. It starts with a simple conversation. To contact Tread Partners, visit treadpartners.com. So let's get started. Welcome to the Gain Traction Podcast, the official podcast for tire business. My guest today is AJ Nealey, chief cheerleader and owner of Nealey Tire Auto with 5 locations in Maryland. AJ, welcome to the Gain Traction Podcast.
Hey, happy to be here, Mike. Thank you so much, man.
Man, I was excited to have you because I got to read that article about you, and you guys have grown a lot in a short period of time.
Yeah. I can also say we've made a lot of mistakes along the way too. So, but no, it's been fun. Yeah, 5 locations now, and continuing to grow. We've been very blessed.
So, for our audience sake, tell us a little bit about AJ. Were you born and raised in the industry?
No, I would say that Legos got me into the industry. So, at the ripe old age of 5, I realized I could work with my hands. So, Legos morphed into RC cars and racing them, and my dad kind of building those as a kid. And then when I got my license, I was just fascinated with how things worked, and my dad was really good at like explaining things mechanically. Yeah. And so so once I got my own set of wheels, that was the start of that. And I got my dream job right out of high school. Worked as a technician at a independent Honda and Acura shop in Pasadena, Maryland. I worked there for almost 10 years, learning the trade and progressing and working my way up before I kind of went on my own. And I knew I was very blessed. I'll say this: I knew what I wanted very early in my life, and I know that that's very difficult for a lot of the younger generation and people today. They don't really know what they want. I knew that very early. And I knew too at some point that I was going to be a shop owner of some sort. I just didn't know when that would kind of come into play. But that journey of ownership started in 2011.
Man, that's so cool. I think that's a massive blessing because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I did like a lot of things, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think it's interesting. I had a brother similar to you. I mean, he didn't go into auto. He ended up being a football coach, but he knew he wanted to be in football ever since he was like 14, and not necessarily that he had to make it to the NFL. He ended up playing in college, but he always knew he wanted to be a coach. And I always thought, man, how cool is that when you already know, Yeah. And so his whole career has been coaching, and he's had a very successful career and fun doing it. But it's always been on that trajectory. And I think that makes you what you're good at, because you guys that know early, it's like it's already in you. It's not a question of what am I going to do? You're already doing it in a sense.
Yeah, I would say that if like somebody would, find like 5 words to describe me, I'm pretty sure passionate would be one of those words to describe me that's in there. And if I get into something, whether it's a hobby or a trade or a work, I'm all in. All the chips are on the table. So yeah, I was very passionate about this. Like, gosh, when I was working in the industry, I was a sponge. I mean, I was trying to learn as much as I could. Self-taught, by the way. I didn't go through any trade school. I wish I had known that there was an automotive vocational trade school actually near me. I wish I had known about it. I would have definitely signed up for it. But just kind of I spent my time in the books and learning and reading, things about engine theory and this, that, and the other, and learned on the job. I was very blessed. The job that I had, my boss was allowed me to be very hands-on very early and put a lot of trust in me to learn along the way. And I had great mentors around me, and so I was able to be taught the right way very early on how to work on vehicles. So yeah, just having that curious mindset, being very passionate about it, and it didn't look at it as a job. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Well, and complimenting that, I mean, it's just our experience in life. I look, I'm a big believer in education, and but at the same time, if I had to choose a way to learn, I would go your route, just simply because, dude, you learn through the way of hard knocks, but you also learn with the mentor, and I don't think there's a better way to learn. And you were not, I mean, it wasn't like you had to go, read about it from a classroom kind of standpoint to practical. You were in the practical learning the whole time. And man, there's something to be said about that probably accelerated your learning in some way. Not to mention, I mean, you had curiosity. You already liked it. It wasn't like somebody had to drive you and say, "Hey, go do your work," or whatever. You were already
Right.
you already committed, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And I, as a result, I could really just like learn what I needed to about the work that was in front of me, So you
Yeah.
think about it, like back in the day, this is before we really had access to this stuff online, but I was reading Helms manuals. If anyone that's a Honda Acura guy knows, they had the library of books along the shelves that you could just pick up and source your service information and learn this stuff from. So, yeah, and I learned a lot of I'd say that the really, as a result, we had to be very productive. So kind of, I say that flat rate mindset, moving and hustling, working with efficiency, staying on your feet. It was required. So I learned that in a very, very busy shop, about high volume, and quick work ethic and hustle is absolutely required to do very well in this industry too.
So when you fast forward for me, because I think a lot of our listeners would like to know what when you got to the well, first of all, when you got to the ownership, I think you had a big challenge buying your first store, did you not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'll tell you a little bit about that too. Like there was a trajectory in my life where while I was working as a technician for about 10 years, and I would say it was most of the 2000s, working as a technician at another independent shop. I was at the same time I was pursuing a racing career, and kind of moved my way up kind of the ladder. It kind of went up to a semi-professional level, but I realized it was like at the end of the 2009 season, 2010 season, I realized that like I think that I could see that there really wasn't there wasn't another career or another season on the horizon. So I had made that switch at that point in the winter of 2010, that, you know what, I'm going to hang my hat up. I gave this a good run. I had a lot of fun doing it, put a lot of passion, but now it's time to reallocate my and funnel that energy into something that's going to last into the long term. So, which was a career path in starting my own business. And so, I had bought a house here in Edgewater, Maryland, that had a great one bay garage behind the house. And the first two words in the home description was mechanic's dream. I was like, all right, I got to check this house out. Had this awesome one single bay garage, but had an in-ground lift and 14-foot ceilings. And so I was moonlighting as a technician, working on neighbors' cars, friends' cars, things like that. So in 2011, it was February 1st, 2011. That was like the first day that we were kind of, in business, I guess you can say. I still have, my mom gave me that $2 framed, the $2 bill in the frame, and say, hey, go get them, kid, So that was on February 1st. And so that was the start of it, and I would say I kind of goofed off for about 3 years, where I really wasn't taking it seriously, because I was at the time a bachelor, and I was living,
Yeah, you're making money. You're making money. Yeah.
Doing it. I was a one-man band doing everything myself, but it really wasn't until 2015 I decided to kind of take it seriously. It's like, and so I knew everything about working on cars, knew nothing about running a business, and I learned about an automotive training group called RLO Training, Robert L. O'Connor, and his training group. And so I took a class that was I felt like it was suited for me. It was called the Guerrilla Shop Management course, and it was like, I called it like a 12-week boot camp, and it was virtual, it was done online, and it was like after hours, like from 6 to 9 p.m., like twice a week for 12 weeks. And I learned everything that you could about running an automotive repair shop, less the fixing of the cars. I knew that part, right? But it was how to create a business plan, establishing a relationship with a banker, marketing, technician time management. I mean, you name it. It was in there. And I was just like, again, that curious mindset. I was all in, so passionate about this. As I was learning this, we were, implementing new tactics next day. And so we started implementing the things that I was learning. And so before you know it, we were just kind of on this fast track, and this trajectory is moving up and to the right. And we were very quickly overrunning our, one bay, one bay garage behind our house. So I started that process about working to move my way out of that one bay garage. And what's funny is working behind your house, look, it's not legal. I didn't have the right zoning and the permitting and this, that, and the other, but I knew this wasn't a long-term thing, but at least got me by. And so but on my test drive route in the neighborhood, I always would drive by this one shop on Mayo Road, which is right down the street, and I'd see the same 4 vehicles on the same 4 lifts every day. I'd drive by the shop. I'm like, oh my goodness, there's nothing going on here. So I realized that, and look, I know we only have 20 minutes on this podcast, but my goodness, the story of getting and opening our first location, it would probably take 2 episodes, part 1 and part 2, to really talk about and explain everything that happened, and the divine intervention that occurred for us to be able to get into that property with not having any money attached to my name, but finding a handful of people that just really believed in me, and knowing that I would make this work, and we wouldn't be where we are today without them, and they know who they are. And we opened our doors in, let's see, it was July of 2016 when we opened our doors to our first legit location, 9 bay operation. We were able to buy the location, buy the property as well, and that's still our flagship store today. And then as far as that's concerned, as you're growing and learning this, right? You have to continuously develop yourself, because you are going to be the biggest constraint in your business. And when you're a one-man band, you're wearing every hat, But then now you've got a location, and then I had to the first big shift for me, the mindset shift was, wow, I actually had to take my toolbox home, meaning that I'm not allowed to work on cars. AJ, you're not allowed to work on cars anymore. You gotta be.
So you were able to pull yourself out of that.
I had to.
Yeah.
I had to.
I mean, because right. I mean, but that's the struggle with a lot of you guys, like your personality, to get out of that. So that was your first. So was your first employee a technician to support you, or was it some office personnel?
Yeah, no, it was a technician, kind of like a shop helper, kind of inexperienced. And that's the thing. These are the things you learn along the way, because then that person was also the first person that had to fire. That was so traumatizing.
Yeah.
So there's so many firsts along the way that you just got to keep your head up high. You can't give up. You can't surrender. These are the trials and tribulations that we must rejoice in, because it's what builds our character, right? This is biblical stuff. I'm going to get into that in a bit, but that's the thing, is the mindset must shift. I realize if I'm going to be the biggest constraint in the business, well, then I have to let go. I have to surrender certain roles and responsibilities if we are to flourish and grow. And I was surrounded by great coaches and mentors as well that kind of helped me and were able to guide me, because that training group that I was a part of, I got affiliated with a 20 group, of other shop owners in that group that we would kind of call them our board of directors, and it was called a Bottom Line Impact Group. And I'm still in touch with a lot of the members and former members of that group, and they're very inspiring. And again, I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for them and John Walfer, our coach at the time. But so anyway, to have that help, in that sounding board as we're growing the store, it was initially hiring some technicians, and then taking my toolbox home, letting go of that aspect, having other technicians perform the work. Then I'm just the lone service advisor. Then I hired my first service advisor, then my second service advisor, and then I realized, wow, I'm like a shop manager now, so that now I have to be a coach, so it's just that mindset has to shift. And then before you know it, I remember distinctly, I think this was in the year 2020 or maybe 2019. I think it was before the pandemic, but I was giving a customer a ride home. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. I'm sitting at the light, and I said to myself out loud, is this it? Is this it? Because I felt like I kind of made it. I felt like I kind of arrived, because I had a great crew, of technicians. I had a great crew of advisors that were like there. And before he knew it, I was just I was like a shuttle driver. I was just giving customers rides home. And I was like, wow, just kind of helping out here and there. I've kind of bought some freedom, but I have so much fire in the belly. I'm like, this can't be it, right?
Yeah.
Because I actually, at the same time I said that out loud, I actually had a sense of dread. And so I realized, like, oh my goodness, like, is this it? I'm like, what's next? Like, I'm always looking for, then searching for that next thing. And so it was at that point that I realized, like, nope, multi-store ownership is what I want to get into. And I thought 2020 was going to be the year, and then we know how that kind of panned out. But I'd say it was a blessing in disguise because, it gave us access to capital and being able to borrow money. We're never going to be able to borrow money this cheap again. And so in 2021, that's when we kind of got into multi-store ownership. And we added 4 stores in 18 months, which started in 2022. My last store was closed on in October of 2023. And it was a very I've made I've made all the mistakes that you could think of under the sun. I can definitely tell you what not to do, but again, what doesn't kill you just only makes you stronger. So
just curious, because we get a lot of listeners that are in your thinking about expanding and whatnot. Tell them one thing they don't want to do. What's a big lesson that you learned?
Yeah, don't buy a dumpster fire. That's how I that's how I sum it up. Don't do that. Oh my goodness.
So you probably had the attitude, which I had was a young man too, but you had the attitude that I can overcome the problems that everybody's telling me exist here.
Right. 100%. Well, I thought we were so blessed with how well our first store went with Edgewater, and we came up to speed, and we did that so quickly, and we grew that store. I'm like, oh wow, I can just sprinkle that fairy dust, on these other stores. We can give it the Midas touch, and this will be easy, And oh my goodness, you just get slapped with some humble pie right in the face because I was buying a lot of distressed shops. I was buying a lot of broken businesses. Which requires, yes, you might get a deal, quote unquote deal, but buy nice or buy twice, as people say, right? And so, when you buy an empty building or a bad reputation or whatever it might be, the sweat equity involved, the marketing you have to overcome from the bad brand reputation that was there, that existed before, it takes so much time. Like, that stuff doesn't just happen overnight. So my biggest takeaway and advice is save the money, but buy something that is in alignment with your core values and your business practices and how you operate. Find something that's in alignment with that and something that's already profitable. That way you're making money on day one. Yes, of course, you're going to spend more money on it, but it's well worth the investment. And what I did was I bought 4 broken stores that either they were operating, but not with the same model that we had, or they were just empty shells and I had to hire people, market it, staff it, equip it, you name it, and doing everything. And it takes so much cash and capital and stress and time and this, that, and the other that moving forward, if we were gonna expand or add any more existing locations, I know now what not to do.
I have those stores. I mean, obviously they turned the corner. So you now believe in them? I mean, they're
definitely. I don't regret. I have absolutely no regrets either because like there's no shortcut to success. Like you have to go through the crap. You got to go through the junk. You got to go through the valley. Because if you don't have the failures, then you can't celebrate and or even recognize what a win feels like, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to go through that. Like you have to. I was actually just listening to someone today, a CEO of Intel, or not Intel, NVIDIA, and he talked about, you actually should look forward to pain and suffering, right? Because through the pain and suffering, that's what's going to build your character. And again, that's biblical, right? Rejoice in trials and tribulations. So that's a big thing. So no regrets at all.
That's interesting you say it. Like I try to tell my kids, look, you got to find something that you're going to like the grind, not the high moments, but you're going to like, you got to like the grind. And if you like the grind, then you're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
100%. Yeah, the passion, I'd say like, when you're going through the grind, as you say, people from outside of your sphere will be looking at what you're doing and think that you are just insane, that you are just crazy. Like, what are you doing? Like spending 18 hours a day on this thing. But I'll tell you what, like, as I look back at those times, like when we were growing and building out that first location, like, I had to work all day in my one big garage behind my house. And then when I was done work at my house, I would go and walk to the shop down the street, put in another 8 hours at that location, either painting or building a bathroom or moving equipment around or, epoxying the floors or whatever it took. And, but I loved every minute. Like, yes, you would just be dead tired at the end of the day and rinse and repeat it every day. But when you have that vision, you can see it and you know exactly like what it looks like. Again, that Holy Spirit is just driving you, man, just driving you forward into making it happen. And so loved every minute of it.
You say a word that I think people take for granted, and I'm gonna say it and use it. But I think when people use the word vision, sometimes you can have a goal, but sometimes that can sound weak, if that makes sense. I think when you have a vision like you did, you knew what the destination looked like. I think you got to be convinced of what the destination looks like so that you can get there. And then like you said, you're not wandering around each day. You literally know what you're trying to do because the vision's so clear. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think you got more to hold on to. Sometimes I think when people have goals, it's like, yeah, they throw it out there. Okay, I'm going that direction. But I think when you have a vision, I think we underestimate the power of that word, because I think when you visualize something, then it's like you've already done it. Now you just, you know what I mean? You know it's there. All you got to do is, like you're doing, build the tracks to get there.
Filling in the blanks. Yeah, that's a good point. Like the vision, you can see it, smell it, taste it,
That's
everything, right? All your senses know exactly what that looks like. And then it's a good point, because the goal, when you're describing a goal, it could just be, it's just a written statement, and it's a SMART goal. It's specific.
Well, how many of us have been to those things where they say, write down your goals, and all this stuff. It sounds, and now, I mean, at my age, it just sounds like it's too frivolous. It's too flighty because, I've got this going, people write them down or whatever. No, what is your vision?
It's the vision, man. What gets you up every day? What's that purpose, man? Like, what's that thing you're willing to just put it all on the line?
I love the fact that you had that, where when you put in the 18-hour days, you can look back on it and you rejoice with them. Like I did when I was doing that.
Yeah. I was blasting Sturgill Simpson in the shop, and I would take a 12-pack of beer in there. I just get to work. I would just grind, but I loved that. I loved every minute of it, and I only wish that others could experience that same level of passion that's kind of required to do a great thing, and it's part of your story. It's part of your testimony.
So what motivates you internally?
It's a great question, because my faith, I would say, really in the last couple of years is by far the motivating and driving force as far as like why I get up every day. We're here for the Great Commission, man. We are here to save souls, you know what I mean? And Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I love what we get to do. We look at our business as a ministry. We're not shy about it. We bring it up in our interviews. We talk about it. We pray over our meetings. And so what we do is biblical, man. Like we get the ability to serve just as Jesus served us. So I love the fact that we get to do that every day, right? But it's funny, like when I killed the old me, and I looked at the prior version of myself, there still existed this inner drive and this inner passion, but I would say that my parents were by far a great example of work ethic, having seen what they had gone through to get to where they're at. I mean, we started some very humble beginnings. My parents were, building they lived in a geodesic dome in the mountains of North Carolina, with no running water and an outhouse. So like they, knowing where we've come from and being part of that journey with them as they kind of grew, professionally, I saw what the output would look like of hard work ethic. Yes. Right. And so I'd say that was definitely ingrained and instilled with me. But by far my faith has been this driving force, and just using that Holy Spirit to just do great things,
Well, by far the people I meet that are motivated like you, they go deeper and farther, if that makes sense. It's because it's not about, it's more, I don't know what the right word is. It's it's more eternal, I guess you'd say, and more divine. There's a bigger purpose than themselves, if that makes sense. And so your motivation just gets, like you said, you may have started out, that old man was just, hey, wanting to do it for himself or whatever. And the old guy, the old person in yourself is what I'm referring to. You're doing it kind of for the selfish reason of, hey, this is my job. This is what I do. I'm going to go make some money. But all of a sudden you start recognizing I got this purpose, and I'm doing good for people, or I'm helping people, or whatever it may be. Maybe it's the employees, the customers, or whatever. And you realize, now I want to do it for a greater cause, and Jesus Christ is the reason, period.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, serving, right? Serving our people, like I think especially of our industry, it's a broken industry. And man, especially like technicians and people in this industry today, they don't even get a pat on the back,
No.
that much, right? And so, the two most important words in someone's vocabulary is their first and last name. And so when you do that, when you shout them out and you say job well done, and when you can give them a hug and embrace them and thank them for their service and what they do, each and every day. Wow, like that doesn't cost you anything, right? But we love it, man. We absolutely love it when we see those life events occur with our employees, whether they get married or have a kid or buy a house.
Yes.
Like it just, man, like, wow, look at what we're doing. This is great.
That's-
And it's all because we're serving our customers, right?
Yes.
Like, and so again, as the customers at the end of the day, they pay for everything, right? And so as a result of that, the customers vote with their wallet, right? And so if we're moving in the right direction, like if we're crushing it on our revenue goals, like we don't look at it like the dollars are a byproduct of serving the community,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
the revenue is just the scorecard in which we measure that, right? All that's indicating to us is that, wow, more customers trust us and are exchanging the certificates of appreciation, and they're handing it over to us because they're voting with their wallet, right?
Man, that is a great way. How do we know we're serving the public? Because they're paying us.
They're paying us
Continuously, and they keep coming back to pay us because we're doing it. And that's a great way of your looking at that math. I think that's a great connector to that. Well, that kind of segues to another question I like to ask. What's a mantra or code, or something you live by? Just kind of motivates you.
Yeah, I man, there's a lot I love. I've got a lot of great books I've read. I got a lot of great mentors. I think I've referred to a lot of phrases from Jim Rohn. I love him. I think he's just got some great stuff. And one of the things he says that just, wow, it just hits me is, it's not what you get paid for the hour. It's the value that you bring to the hour, right? And I think that phrase and that mantra really can it's not just for leadership, it's for anyone, right? It's whether you're a entry-level general service technician, all the way up to a A-level master tech, or a district manager, whatever that is. It's not what you get paid for the hour. It's the value that you bring to the hour, right? How are you adding value to the organization and to the people around you, right? And serving them. And so I love that phrase.
But that can go so many ways in a positive way too, because it can really help you value yourself more. You realize, man, I brought a lot in my work ethic, or I brought a lot with my ingenuity, or I've brought a lot with my creativity, I like that one.
So the example I love that I use, one of my mentors, Todd Hayes from Auto Shop Answers. He's been just a huge influence, especially this year with the trajectory we've gone as a company. But think of it this way: you can go to Denny's, you can go to Outback, or you can go to Ruth's Chris. Same cow, right? What are they doing differently on that steak along the way that gets Ruth's Chris to charge this and Denny's to charge this? Yes, of course, the quality of that is an improvement, but is it 10x? Is it a 10x difference? So other things along the way in service you have to, as far as that commensurate value of service, it's not just the product. Like if we were to also take the same analogy, it's not just the part we install. Yes, we can get higher quality parts along the way, but what level of service are we bringing to the experience of that customer?
Yeah, that's interesting, because it's interesting now that you say it that way, because it's a sirloin's a sirloin, right? I mean, it's all the same cut of meat, and it's coming off of a cow. So why is this one? Yeah, no, that's cool. Oh man, I like your stuff. I like your momentum. I like your energy. I could probably talk to you all day, but
I know, man. Time goes like that, doesn't it?
it really does. But I will compliment you. I did do a little research on you, and I noticed your Google reviews just kill it on all your locations. You're like a 4.5 or greater, up to a 4.8, and you've got hundreds of reviews. I think that's outstanding. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very blessed. We got great people, great customers, and yeah, we're just hoping to continue this momentum.
Well, you're definitely one of these guys that I'd like to have back one day because I feel like this story is just getting started. So if you don't mind, maybe we'll check in with you in a year or so and see where you're at, and then I don't know, maybe you'll be at 10 stores by then.
Yeah,
No.
that's one thing I've learned too. It's not all about store count. It's about making every store count. So
That's so true. Well, it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks for coming on.
thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
And to all our listeners out there and podcast friends, thank you. We'll see you next time. To all our listeners, thank you for being part of the Gain Traction Podcast. We are grateful for you. If you'd like to find more podcasts like this, please visit gaintractionpodcast.com. If you'd like to make a guest recommendation, please email me at mike@treadpartners.com. This episode has been powered by Tread Partners, the leader in digital marketing for multi-location tire and auto repair shops. To learn more about Tread Partners, visit treadpartners.com.